Mr. Neumeister, based on the analysis you performed in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Pardon?
Based on the analysis you've done in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Yes.
What are they?
Well, three basic ones. One is quite a number of the photos had been through a photo, at least one, possibly two.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, which photos is he referring to? We have to go through this one by one.
One's in evidence.
Mr. Neumeister, in terms of the photos that you looked at and that you formed opinions about, do you understand if they've been submitted as evidence in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And what conclusions have you formed about those?
Same objection, Your Honor. That doesn't cure the issue of the objection. We have to go through this. Which photos is she talking about? Which one's in evidence? What exhibit numbers? That's the basis of the objection.
We're talking generally about opinions right now, Your Honor, and we're going to get into some specifics.
I think we have to go straight to the specifics.
Okay. Mr. Neumeister, have you prepared a demonstrative that aids in your testimony with respect to any of the photos that you looked at in this case?
Yes.
I'd like to pull up Plaintiff's 1303, Your Honor, if I might approach.
All right.
Your Honor, I would, again, object. We can approach to discuss
Okay,
it.
you want to approach?
Tom, can we pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170A, which has been admitted into evidence? Mr. Neumeister, does this photo appear to be one that you have analyzed as part of your analysis in this case?
There were many versions of this photo. I would say there were dozens of different versions with different chromatic values, different file sizes, different physical sizes. Some had been through Photos 1 or Photos 3, which are photo editing software programs.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to show Mr. Neumeister's demonstrative, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1303.
All right. Any other objection?
I would object again, Your Honor, because the photograph in 170A is not in evidence.
All right.
Or, yeah, I mean, the photograph is in evidence. None of the photographs use wishes to show the jury are in evidence.
1303 is in evidence over objection. I'm not in evidence, I'm sorry, as a demonstrative.
Just as a demonstrative.
I'm sorry.
Can we go to
Published
1303, please? And Mr. Neumeister, what does this demonstrative show about the photos that you analyzed?
Well, they appear to be similar. However, if you look below at the file sizes, one on the left is 712 kilobytes. The one in the middle is 489 kilobytes. And the one on the right is 524 kilobytes. Now, what's unusual about that is these photos will not digitally fingerprint with each other. They won't hash. In other words, forensically, they don't match. But the thing is, you could say, well, it was sent through email, maybe it's a different size. The file sizes, for example, would be possibly, you can select the file size, you send a photo, but there's no way to authenticate any photo that was presented in the way the evidence was collected.
And so what conclusions do you draw from that?
Well, this is just three of many of the same type of photos that are all different sizes and have different chromatic, which means color.
Objection, Your Honor. We just had a ruling on this.
All right. Sustained objection.
Mr. Neumeister, stick to your opinions that relate specifically to what you analyzed about the EXIF data, please.
All three of these photos had to go through some type of transformation to change sizes.
We can take that one down. You mentioned Photos 1.5 and Photos 3.0 earlier, I believe.
Photos.
What is that?
Photos 3 and Photos 1.5 are editing programs that Macintosh or Apple put out with their product. It's for editing photos. In other words, you would put a photo in and you would change the colors, or you would crop it, or you would clarify it by enhancing, for example, the sharpening, or you could darken it. But when you save a photo through an editing program, you leave a mark on the EXIF data.
And what is the EXIF data?
The EXIF data is the data that is embedded in a photograph that tells you a lot about the photograph. And again, in the early days when we were using film cameras, you would write down the f-stop, which is the light setting. You would write the type of lens you use, the time of day, the type of film stock, the type of filters you're using. Now with digital cameras, that's done electronically, and there's about 1,000 lines of code, of which 50 are probably important, that tell you what the camera was doing.
So what's the significance of EXIF data in your photo analysis?
Well, in this situation, I can see that normally where the operating system of the camera would be, which means the version that of operating system the phone is running on, it would normally say something like, I'll just throw out an arbitrary number, 9.1.3 operating system for iOS, which is Apple's iPhone operating system. Instead of saying that, it says software Photos 3.0 or Photos 1.0. That means that the photo had to be rendered, which means composited together in an editing program.
Did you prepare a demonstrative that shows some of your analysis of some of the EXIF data of the photos in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can we pull up 1304, please? Your Honor, may I approach?
You okay?
Permission to publish as a demonstrative, Your Honor.
Any objection? Any objection, Mr.
I'm sorry,
Murphy?
Your Honor. My
She wishes to
co-counsel's talking.
publish
I'm
it
so sorry.
as a demonstrative.
No objections to demonstrative.
All right, thank you. We'll publish it as 1304, just as a demonstrative.
And Mr. Neumeister, are these images in this demonstrative excerpts from the report you prepared in this case?
Yes, they are.
And what do they show?
On this particular photo, and on all of them, it shows the first few lines of EXIF data, the ones that would be most important for this photograph. So, for example, things you would see, the very top line would be the make of phone. It's an Apple iPhone 6. And then the resolution is 72 pixels per inch, 72 to 1. And instead, where it says software on a normal iPhone photo, it would, instead of saying Photos 3, it would say the software version, for example, 9.3.1. And then you've got the date and the time of the photo below that, which is really easy to change in an EXIF editor. And below that, you have things like the like the flash. You've got the exposure type, how long the exposure was. So what you just highlighted there again was the date and time. So that's universal time code minus whatever area you're in the world.
Anything else you want to show us with this demonstrative?
Yeah, just below that, if you look, there's some things that would say, for example, a directly photographed image. That is not going to be necessarily accurate once it's been through an editor. It will always pretty much say that. So when you're looking at scene type or auto exposure, these are things that really don't matter all that much. What would matter is, for example, if you're taking notes, the focal length would be important. The pattern of metering, things like that to a photographer would be important. And again, this is just a few lines, and the reason I put these in there was just to explain a bit what EXIF data is. The actual thing I'm trying to point out is the fact that instead of an operating system, it shows the editing program that was used on this photo.
Are there additional photos that you did this analysis for?
Yes, many.
Okay. Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? Is there anything about this photo that you noted as part of your analysis, Mr. Neumeister?
Yes, again, it's you know, right there, you've got photos 3.0 on that particular photo. And I think, you know, we've pretty much covered what the stuff is, but again, you see the photos 3.0. And again, this could not come out of an iPhone this way. This would go into a computer, be edited, and rendered through the photo editor, and this would then be embedded in the EXIF data.
Okay. Do you have other photos in this demonstrative?
Yes.
All right, can we scroll to the next page?
Same thing. You've got up here in the top, you've got the photos 3.0, and this is throughout a lot of the photos that are in evidence, or versions of the photos in evidence, were gone through photos 3.0 or photos 1.5, an earlier version.
Can we scroll to the next page, please, Tom? And what about this one?
Same thing, photos 3.0. And again, in a photo editing app, you can do an awful lot of things. So when you see photos 3.0, first of all, you know it's not anywhere near an original. There's going to be compression artifacts because it's a JPEG file.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Can we move on to the next page of this demonstrative, please?
And again, same thing. You've got the photos app.
Okay. And I believe there's one final photo in this demonstrative. What about this one?
Again, if you look up there, it says photos 3.0 on that particular photo.
All right. We can take that one down. Your Honor, I have a little bit left. I don't know if you wanted to.
All right, you want to take our afternoon? Let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess. Just do not discuss the case and don't do any outside research. Thank you.